All right, we are officially joined in studio by the great Tommy Keegan.
Good morning.
And Mitch from Halftime.
How's it going?
Two individuals who you don't find many people who know more about beer than you two. So that's why I have been on pins and needles pretty much all day, freaked out about my home-brewed version of our beer of the week at Halftime, which is Hurricane Kitty. One of my favorite beers. Every time I go to Keegan Ales, I have to get a Hurricane Kitty. If I see it in the store, I'm like, all right, yes, let me get it. I just bought it 3 days ago, but yes, I'll buy another six-pack of it.
Thank you. My children need thank you. They eat a lot of Cheerios. I got teenagers.
Yeah.
It's just such a drinkable IPA, and it just seems like in the past couple of years, people have been going so far into that West Coast style of making things as bitter and hoppy as possible that to have something that you can seriously sit down and watch a football game and drink that IPA is really, really nice. It's very sessionable. So I know you've come out with a session beer since then, Bind Climber.
That's right.
Which is also phenomenal. But when you came out, it was like, Hurricane Kitty's already my session IPA. You've already accomplished this. You're going to outdo that one. Yeah. So tell us the story of Hurricane Kitty. I know it has a very long heritage. The name has the longest heritage, but the actual the beer itself comes from a long line of great beer, right?
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, well, what you're, I think, referring to is the fact that it's named after my grandma. And, Nana. We call it Hurricane Nana around the Thanksgiving table. But back in the 60s, my grandmother got so many speeding tickets driving around to the Long Island beach ferries that the local police officers started calling her Hurricane Kitty. And my grandfather was a lawyer, so he knew all the police officers. And the name kind of stuck. So she was called Hurricane Kitty forever. And then, we decided that any chick that we're related to that's cool enough to get a nickname from the police deserves a beer named after her at the very least,
Badass grandma.
Yeah, right. She's since passed, but she used to come into the brewery and she'd kind of, hobble in and, 25-year-old rugby meatheads would be like, oh, that's the Hurricane Kitty, and she'd be signing their T-shirts. I actually watched her sign the chest of a rugby player. She's got like this little old lady, Catholic school handwriting. She's writing Catherine Keegan, Catherine Keegan on it.
Rockstar Granny.
Yeah, Rockstar Granny. So it's fun, It's
That's
cool.
awesome. Grandma's a homebrew legend. That's a craft beer legend as well, right?
Right on. I guess so now.
Now, speaking of homebrew, is that kind of where it started? How did the actual beer of Hurricane Kitty begin?
That actually started, my dad owns a pub brewery down on Long Island called the Brick House, and we built that recipe for his place down there. And then, because it was named after Nana, it naturally became the family beer. And then when I opened up my brewery in Kingston, it it just made sense to bring the family recipe.
Oh, sure, yeah. Bring it home.
Bring it back, yeah.
Now, if you've never been to Keegan Ales in Kingston, it is it's one of my favorite places in the world. It's kind of, you go into it, it's just like, it's the coziest, and bringing it home is kind of, to me, the best way of describing it, because it's a very homey feel to it. It's very cozy. You feel very welcomed in there, and there's phenomenal beer. So if you have not been to the actual Keegan Ales establishment in Kingston, St. James Street, is that where it's on?
Yep, 20 St. James.
Right off of Broadway there, right nearby, right?
Yeah, right off the thruway, too. It's a pretty quick stop. It's not really too deep off the thruway if you're traveling up in north or south.
So try them all. I mean, honestly, the entire lineup is phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of Joe Mama's Milk, another one of my favorites of yours. So if you get a chance, go up there. But we've got a really good beer on tap, Hurricane Kitty, at halftime. Where I didn't realize until recently you can actually sample the beer that you can get in growler form, right?
Well, that never used to be allowed, but we spent 13 years now fighting that law, where now finally we've gotten the law rewritten. You can come in and try the beer before you buy the growler, so you know exactly what it is. You don't have to listen to me talk about it anymore.
Well, but you've got the pedigree. You know a thing or two about beer, so you usually have good recommendations.
I love when people say that, too. It really is a nice way of saying, hey, you're a functioning alcoholic. Right. Congratulations.
I had that exact conversation with somebody this
weekend. But at least you're getting paid for it.
Yeah, I'm getting paid to be an alcoholic. Well, life's good right now.
You've made a living out of a nice, easily hidden drinking problem, and for that, I commend you, my friend.
I appreciate that.
So speaking of disguising a drinking problem, and I know you, Mitch, as well, have gotten into home brewing and trying to take my own style, as it were, into brewing, which to me, my style is trying not to burn down the kitchen and make bad beer. But what I've done recently is, Tommy, I brewed Hurricane Kitty, and you just tried it in the hallway.
Yes.
And you are either very complimentary to preserve my feelings, or you liked it, which I'm not quite sure which is true. But so my version of Hurricane Kitty versus the one that you've brewed. What's the what have I done? What's different? What have I done wrong? How can I improve it? All of that.
I don't know if I would try to. When we were talking outside in the hallway, the first thing I asked you was, "Do you like drinking the beer?" It was before I tasted it, and you said yes. And as a home brewer, if you make a beer and you like the way it tastes, you did it right for the starters.
Right.
That's like first and foremost,
Yeah.
Your beer was a little bit more like, what would you say, floral?
It was
kind of a little bit more.
It had more of that,
which I'm kind of jealous of, to be honest with you.
A little bit more, up front.
Yeah,
and it was.
I like the aroma. To be honest with you, I like the aroma of your beer better than mine. Like, it really
I thought
popped
that too.
Up your nose a little bit more.
It was nice, and it was very, like you said, floral. The hops are a little bit more floral. Where in the commercial version, it starts out a little bit more on the bitter, and then it kind of fades into that floral, where yours was just like a nice, like, rounded floralness.
Yeah, you were saying this is the first time you dry hopped a homebrew?
Yeah, and dry hopping,
you nailed it.
Dry hopping, for anybody who doesn't know, is when you brew the beer, you basically boil hops into it. But then dry hopping is after you've ostensibly made the beer, you add additional hops after that original process.
Right.
So it adds kind of a nice aroma to it, and it adds a little bit of bitterness to it. So, well, you, Tommy Keegan, who have established the entire craft brewing scene in the Hudson Valley, that are the trailblazer that everyone follows. I, person who has homebrewed about 11 beers, I'll give you some tips after the show.
I was going to say, I'm not sure if I invented craft brewing in the Hudson Valley.
You laid the foundation down.
There was this guy named Matthew Vassar who did it once.
He's old news.
He's kind of the big guy.
He did a thing that he started at college. He made a bunch of money. Whatever. That's in the past now.
I can't wait till there's Keegan University. I got nothing better to do with my money, right?
Yeah.
So we will absolutely have that on tap. Half price at halftime.
Half price at halftime. Yeah, you get the WRRV PDH growler, and you get some Hurricane Kitty for pretty cheap. So you can't beat that. Perfect for football time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I got to say that I went out of my way specifically to run past the brewery on my way here because we were kegging Hurricane Kitty this morning. So I have the kegs in the parking lot of the radio station right now. They were kegged at maybe 7:30 this morning.
Oh, man.
So talk about fresh beer. You're not going to get much fresher beer than that.
Unless you're hammering the tap handle into the keg itself and drinking it straight from it, you're probably not going to get any fresher than that.
Absolutely
so
not.
that's one of the really cool things about being able to feature local beers as the beer of the week is that you don't have to worry about it traveling. It's not crossing the Atlantic. It's right there. It's brewed right here in the Hudson Valley. You know it's fresh, and if you've had it, you know it's good. So go to Halftime, Route 9 in Poughkeepsie. Try out the beer of the week. Get it in the growler for half price, and of course, stop by Keegan Ales in Kingston anytime. What do you have going on? You have with Thursday nights, the big fun night, right?
Yeah, Thursday is always our biggest night of the week. We do $3 mason jars full of beer and have a live band with no cover. We never have, we always have live music Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, usually Sundays. We never do a cover. But Thursdays we do, a buck cheaper and bigger glasses. So we do about 20-ounce beers for $3 and a live band, and the place just goes crazy.
One of my favorite places in the Hudson Valley. One of my favorite places in the world. Actually, Halftime is as well. My two favorite places in the world are right here in one place. Nice. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. And keep doing what you're doing. And everybody enjoy Half Price Hurricane Kitty because it doesn't get any better than that.